A piece of paper, 15 centimeters by 20, black paint on a time-worn beige background. She held that document in her hands and felt the world come crashing down because there was written a name that was not hers, a date that didn't match, a city she had never visited, and in the lower right corner, a signature that she recognized, that of the mother she had just buried. For 38 years, she lived believing that she knew exactly who she was. But that birth record told a completely different story. What if everything you know about yourself was written in documents that don't tell the truth? Rachel Elizabeth Morrison was born, or so she was told, in Portland, Oregon, in May 1955. The only child of Thomas and Catherine Morrison, she grew up in a white log house in the quiet suburb of Beaverton. Well-cut lawn, white fence, a red bike in the garage. A typical American childhood. Thomas worked as an accountant. Catherine was an elementary school teacher. They were discreet, organized people who paid their bills on time and went to Mass on Sundays. Rachel was a happy child. At least that's what the photos showed. She wore a blue dress on the first day of school. She blowing out birthday candles. She holding a stuffed dog at Christmas. But there was something small, almost imperceptible. Rachel never looked like her parents. Thomas had light blue eyes and skin that burned in the sun. Catherine was short, with straight brown hair and a round face. Rachel, on the other hand, had deep brown eyes, brown skin that tanned easily, and features that seemed to come from somewhere else, from another origin. You pulled the grandparents, Catherine always said when someone commented. Rachel accepted. Children accepted. But there were strange moments. At the age of 7, Rachel found a yellowed envelope in the living room closet. Inside, a photo of a young, dark-haired woman with a wide smile, holding a baby. "Who is it?" she asked her mother. Catherine took the picture of her hand quickly. "No one important. Don't mess with other people's things." Rachel never saw that photo again. At the age of 11, in a routine medical appointment, the pediatrician asked about family history, hereditary diseases, allergies. Catherine hesitated before answering. Rachel noticed, but he didn't understand. As a teenager, Rachel began to feel that she didn't completely belong in that house. It was not obvious at all, just a subtle sensation, like always being a little uncomfortable in one's own skin. She loved her parents. That was never an issue, but there was a silence between them, a silence that grew every year. Rachel graduated from high school in 1973. He went to the University of Oregon to study journalism. There it flourished. For the first time away from home, Rachel felt she could be herself. She wrote for the student newspaper. He participated in protests. He debated politics until late at night. It was there that he met David. He was a law student. Blonde hair, round glasses, a fierce idealism that matched hers perfectly. They fell in love within 3 weeks. They married in 1977 in a simple ceremony in Portland. Catherine cried throughout the ceremony. Thomas was silent. Rachel thought it was strange, but he didn't ask. She and David moved to Seattle. He got a job at a law firm. She started working at a local newspaper. They had 2 children, Anna in 1979 and Michael in 1982. Rachel was a devoted mother, but it is also uneasy. She had recurring nightmares. She dreamed that she was in an unknown place, looking for someone she could not see. "I woke up in a cold sweat, my heart racing. It's just stress," David said, hugging her. But it wasn't. Rachel began to notice small things. When Anna was born, the nurse asked about the family's medical history. Rachel didn't know how to answer. He called Catherine, who was vague, evasive. When Michael had a severe allergic reaction, doctors ordered genetic testing. Rachel asked the parents to get tested as well. Catherine refused. "It's not necessary," she said, her voice cold. Rachel insisted. Catherine hung up the phone. At the age of 30, Rachel began to ask more direct questions. "Why aren't there any baby pictures of me?" "Mom, where's my original birth certificate? Why don't you ever talk about your family?" Catherine always dodged. He changed the subject. Or I would just leave the room. Thomas, when confronted, would only say, "Leave your mother alone, Rachel." And Rachel tired of fighting, let her. But the questions did not disappear. They grew, and they grew. In March 1993, Catherine suffered a stroke. She survived, but was partially paralyzed. He needed constant care. Thomas, already 72 years old, could not care for her alone. Rachel returned to Portland. She left David and the children in Seattle temporarily and moved to her parents' house to help. It was the first time in years that she had spent extended time in that house, and it was there that he began to notice things, minor inconsistencies. One day, while organizing her parents' financial documents, Rachel found old receipts, payments made to a lawyer in 1955. High values, no explanation. She asked Thomas. Old stuff, he grumbled. It doesn't matter. But it mattered. Rachel kept looking. In the basement, inside a rusty toolbox, she found a sealed envelope. Inside, documents. Many documents. Papers from a Los Angeles adoption agency. Correspondence between Thomas and a lawyer named Herbert Goldman. And, at the bottom of the envelope, a birth certificate. But it wasn't hers. Or rather, it was, and it wasn't. The name on the document was Rachel Elizabeth Morrison. The date of birth was correct, May 12, 1955. But the birthplace was different, Los Angeles, California. And the names of the biological parents were blank. Rachel sat on the cold basement floor, her hands shaking. She ran upstairs and confronted Thomas. What is this? He looked at the paper. His face turned pale. Rachel, what is this? She shouted. Thomas closed his eyes. You've been adopted. The words fell like stones. Rachel felt the air faint. Adopted? Yes. Since when? Forever. You were only a few days old when you came to us. Rachel staggered. He sat heavily on the couch. Why didn't you ever tell me? Thomas looked away. Catherine thought it was better this way. That you would be happier not knowing. Happier? Rachel repeated, her voice breaking. I lived 38 years without knowing who I am. You're our daughter, Thomas said, his voice low. That has never changed. But it has changed. Everything changed. Rachel couldn't sleep that night. She stayed awake, staring at the ceiling, trying to process. Adopted. The word echoed in his head. Adopted. The next day, she confronted Catherine. The mother was sitting in the wheelchair, looking out the window. When Rachel entered, she did not turn her face. You knew I was going to find out, Rachel said, her voice steady. Catherine did not answer. Why didn't you ever tell me? Silence. Mom, I deserve to know. Catherine finally turned her head. His eyes were red. Because I was afraid, she whispered. Afraid of what? To lose you. Rachel felt the tears coming, but she held on. You didn't lose me, but it hid who I am. Catherine closed her eyes. I just wanted you to be mine, she said, her voice breaking. Completely mine. Rachel knelt next to the chair. I am yours, but I'm also someone else's, and I need to know who. Catherine opened her eyes. She gave it to you, Rachel. Your biological mother didn't want you. The words were like a punch. How do you know? The lawyer told us. She was young, single. I couldn't afford it. He made the right choice. The right choice. Rachel repeated incredulously. She gave it to me, and you never told me? We want to protect you. Protect? Rachel stood up sharply. You stole the truth from me. She left the room before Catherine could answer. Rachel called David that night and told him everything. He was silent for a long time. What do you want to do? He asked, finally. I want to find her, Rachel said. I want to know who I am. Rachel hired a private investigator. She handed him everything she had, the altered birth certificate, the adoption agency papers, the lawyer's receipts. It took 3 months. 3 months of waiting, of anguish, of sleepless nights, until, in June 1993, the investigator called. I found your biological mother. Rachel felt her heart race. Who is she? Her name is Maria Elena Vargas. She lives in San Diego. He is 61 years old. She works as a retired nurse. Rachel wrote down the address with trembling hands. Does she know about me? She never forgot you. Rachel hung up the phone and cried. But they were not tears of relief. They were tears of loss, because she spent 38 years not knowing she had another mother, another family, another origin. And now, knowing this did not bring joy. It brought pain. Rachel looked at herself in the mirror. Who was that person? Rachel Morrison, Thomas and Catherine's daughter? Or someone else, with another name, another story? She didn't know anymore. David noticed a change in her. Rachel was distant, angry, lost. You're not obligated to do that, he said, holding her hand. I need to, she replied. Anna and Michael noticed as well. The mother was different, quieter, more absent. Rachel tried to explain, but how to explain something that she herself did not understand? You are still my children, she told them. Nothing changes that. But something had changed, because now Rachel was looking at them and thinking, you have a grandmother you've never met, a family they never knew existed. And that hurt. In July 1993, Rachel took a plane to San Diego. She didn't tell Maria Elena that she was going. It just showed up. The house was small, painted light yellow, with a garden full of flowers. Rachel rang the doorbell. A woman opened the door. Gray hair, deep brown eyes, traits that Rachel recognized immediately, because they were hers. Can I help you? The woman asked. Rachel tried to speak, but couldn't. He only handed over one piece of paper, the birth certificate. Maria Elena looked at the document. His hands began to tremble. Are you my daughter? Rachel nodded, tears flowing. Maria Elena dropped the roll and hugged Rachel so tightly it hurt. She cried. He cried for minutes that seemed like hours. When they finally parted, Maria Elena held Rachel's face with both hands. I thought about you every day, she whispered. Every day of my life. They sat down in the room. Maria Elena made tea, and he began to count. She was 17 when she became pregnant in 1954. Rachel's father was a soldier she met at a party. He disappeared as soon as he learned of the pregnancy. Maria Elena tried to raise Rachel alone, but it was impossible. She had no money. He had no family support. She was desperate. A social worker told me that there was a couple who really wanted a baby, Maria Elena explained, her voice breaking. They were good people. They had money. They could give you a better life. And you agreed? Rachel asked. I signed the papers, Maria Elena said, wiping away tears. But I was told it was an open adoption, that I could see you, that you would know about me. But that's not what happened. No, the lawyer lied. He changed the documents. It made it seem like it was a closed adoption. And when I tried to look for you, I was told it was impossible, that the records were sealed. Rachel felt angry, not Maria Elena, but of everyone else, from the lawyer who lied, from the parents who hid it, of the system that allowed this to happen. I've been looking for you for years, Maria Elena continued, but I never succeeded, until a few months ago, the law changed. Adoption registrations began to be opened. I hired someone to help me. And then you showed up here. Rachel looked at that woman, your mother, a stranger who was also blood of his blood. I don't know who I am anymore, Rachel whispered. Maria Elena held his hand. You are you, and that's enough. Rachel spent a week in San Diego. She met aunts, cousins, people she never knew existed. They received her with affection, but also with curiosity. You look like your grandmother, one aunt said. Rachel looked at old photos. I saw familiar faces, but he felt unfamiliar, because they were strangers, and she, for them, was too. Maria Elena showed Rachel a room she had prepared for her when she was a baby. There was still a box with clothes stored. I never managed to throw it away, Maria Elena said. Rachel held a pink jumpsuit, so small, so fragile. She thought about the life she might have had, growing up there, with Maria Elena, in that house, with that family. Would it be different? Would it be better? There was no way to know. Before leaving, Rachel returned to Portland. She went to her parents' house. Catherine was still in the wheelchair. Thomas was next to her. "I found my birth mother," Rachel said. Catherine closed her eyes. "She has been looking for you for years. Did you know that?" Silence. "She never wanted to give it to me. The lawyer lied to her." Thomas lowered his head. "You stole my story," Rachel said, her voice firm but not angry. "And they stole from her too." Catherine began to cry. "I'm not going to say I forgive you," Rachel continued, "because I don't know if I can. But I'm not going to say I don't love you either, because I love it. And that makes it even more complicated." She turned to leave, but stopped at the door. "I wish you had trusted me, that they had believed that I could love you both, you and her, but you chose fear. And now we've all wasted time that will never come back." Rachel returned to Seattle. She told everything to David, Anna, and Michael. They listened to her in silence. "So Grandma Catherine isn't your real mother?" Michael asked. "She is. It's just not the only one," Rachel replied. Anna was quiet for a long time before asking, "How do you feel?" Rachel thought. "Lost," she said honestly, "but also complete, in a weird way." Over the next few months, Rachel kept in touch with Maria Elena. They spoke on the phone once a week. Sometimes Rachel visited San Diego, but it was never easy, because Maria Elena wanted to make up for lost time, and Rachel couldn't give it to her. She was 38 years old, a whole life already lived, memories that did not include Maria Elena, and that was a wound that would never heal completely. Rachel also kept in touch with Thomas and Catherine, but the relationship has changed. There was a distance now, a sadness that did not disappear. Catherine died in 1996. At the funeral, Maria Elena appeared. Rachel didn't expect it. The two women looked at each other, and without words they embraced, because they had both loved the same person, and they had both wasted time with her. Thomas died 2 years later. Rachel inherited the house in Portland. When he cleaned it, he found more letters, more documents, pieces of a story she never knew. She kept everything in a box and took it to Seattle. One night, Rachel sat down with Anna and Michael and showed them the documents. "That's the story of who I am," she said, "and also of who you are." "It's complicated," Anna said. "Yes," Rachel agreed. "Yes." Today, Rachel is 68 years old. She writes for a blog about adoption and identity. It helps others who discovered, too late, that their lives were built on lying papers. She still has nightmares, but it also has clarity, because now she knows. Identity is not a document. It is the sum of everything we have experienced. And sometimes, the truth does not set you free. It just makes everything more real. A birth record is just a piece of paper, but it may contain a lifetime of secrets. Rachel spent 38 years living a truth that wasn't complete. And when he found out, nothing was the same again. What about you? If you found a document that changed everything you know about yourself, would you have the courage to follow the truth to the end? Leave it in the comments. And sign up to follow other stories of lives that were never what they seemed to be.